I mentioned that we had $50,000 in paid-in capital. I think perhaps that number was $55,000, but we had 5 people who had invested $10,000. Those folks were J.W. Johnson and Max and Imogene Bula. Joe Thomas invested in terms of doing the work and rather than billing us, taking a position, a capital position. I had a $10,000 position, and my brother Frank had a $10,000 position. The process of soliciting for capital infusions or capital investments was pretty interesting to me. I like to relate one experience I had where I visited with a very prominent businessman in Randolph County, and he was quite receptive, but he told me that he had a fellow investor that I should go see, and if that gentleman decided to invest, then he also would invest. And I went to visit his friend, and he was very friendly with me, but it came down to the end of the presentation, and he asked me the question, who was going to control the company? And my answer was that I would be in charge of the company. I would have a board of directors to guide me, but basically business decisions would be made by myself and the management of the company. And his response was, well, he liked to invest in things where he had significant control of what the business was doing. And he used an illustration that from somewhere that a person who had the goal had the lines, and the lines was, in his mind, the control. That if he put in money, that gave him a significant level of control. I would go back and remind myself of the discussion that I had with Bill DeBrule before the process actually began. When Bill visited with me in Greenville, North Carolina, one of the things he told me was to avoid exactly that kind of situation. He said, pick your investors as people that are investors rather than people that want to run the business for you. And I think the wisdom in what Bill was saying was the gentleman I was talking to knew absolutely nothing about a plastics operation. He did run a business or some businesses and was very successful. But I think Bill was right on when he said, you are responsible and you need to keep authority and be able to make the decisions that need to be made as you go forward, and avoid getting someone who doesn't know anything about the business but has money and wants to use that money as a means to control it. So that was one of the very first things that my friend Bill DeBrule told me that was quite apt in the situation. There were many more in our relationship over the years, and he never charged me a cent for any of them, although in the end he did very well with his investment, which was a later investment, by the way, but he did very well with his investment in Mid-State Plastics.